Steve Wood came into work today on International Women's Day.
I did, and I'm actually going to go cover a big march, rally, whatever you want to call it, that they're having here. So I'm a little offended that women are taking the day off, but I've got to go work to cover them taking the day off and protesting about it.
Right.
We've got school. I don't know about you all. We've got schools closed here, Alexandria, Virginia. The whole public school system there closed because they had so many women who wanted to call in and take the day off. And I'm sure you guys have talked about this, but I mean, the burden that this puts on many working families,
yes,
moms and dads, who, 2 days ago didn't know schools were going to be closed and all of a sudden have to find childcare, because they don't maybe have jobs so they can just not show up without any repercussion. But, those folks don't matter when you're trying to make a political point.
Yeah, two things are going on there because you have the women who can't go to work and be productive for their families because the teachers didn't show up, or you have them having to spend more extra money for a babysitter or whatever it happens to be. So you're costing other women money on a number of levels.
Exactly right. And then they're telling people, don't go shopping today either unless it's a small women-owned, private-owned business. Well, what about all the women that work at bigger companies and that maybe a man owns it or who owns it, but they work there. And if you don't support them, their job is going to go away or could go away. I mean, it's so small-minded if you really think about it. And here's the other thing, Jamie. I'm looking at a survey. Over 75% of women think that are currently employed think their employers and their companies do a good job, that they treat men and women equally. Well, if that's the case, then why are you punishing all of these folks who may be doing a good job, according to women, in terms of how they treat their employees, but yet you still need to strike on them, too? I mean, why don't you target the places that are really bad? I mean, wherever they are, let's identify those as opposed to pretending, this is the Mad Men era and women are all, secretary. It's just ridiculous.
It totally is. All right, so Heritage has been very much involved in the healthcare debate. Can you please tell me who's right, who's wrong, or is there some kind of middle ground on this brand new healthcare plan introduced formally by Paul Ryan yesterday?
Well, here's what I would say, and I would encourage people to go to thedailysignal.com. My colleague there, a guy named Ed Hazelmeyer, who's not just one of our experts on healthcare, but I would say a top expert on healthcare, period, and not just healthcare, but healthcare policy, went through the entire bill yesterday, read it piece by piece, and put together, I think, a good summary. And the middle ground is that, they came out and said, I think President Trump said, this is all negotiable. So that means we have middle ground, meaning that it's up for grabs. So what Ed said is that the bill that they introduced, that Paul Ryan and the leadership introduced, at the end of the day, it really fails to correct the parts of Obamacare that drove up much of the insurance costs in the first place. And that while this may go about, through tax subsidies, which are really they're refundable tax credits, meaning we're going to give money to people that aren't paying taxes to help them buy health care, and many of these will be the people that are already on the exchanges or have gotten Medicaid, but who it's not going to help is the many people who had private insurance that lost their doctors and their insurance premiums have been skyrocketing. Those people aren't going to be drastically helped by this bill. So there's a lot, and think about it. The challenge is always creating legislation that's going to treat everybody the way they want to be treated. But I think we can do a far better job than what we have here. It doesn't go near far enough in other measures. And I know President Trump said, well, the whole measure of allowing insurance to be bought, for example, across state lines, that'll come in part 2 and part 3. Well, that's how things never happen.
Yeah, right. You're saying it ought to
promise you that tax cut later.
Yeah, it ought to be coming part 1. But for businesses, are businesses happy though because the employer mandate, all the mandates are taken off, or is that a balance or not? Well,
that's good. There's some definitely good tax measures in there, such as that one. But the reality is that many of the insurance regulations that drove up premiums, those are still going to be in there. So you still have regulations, and I know some of those have to be dealt with by the Department of Health and Human Services. Not everything would be done in a bill passed by Congress. Jamie, the 2015 bill that both the House passed and the Senate passed that they sent to President Obama's desk is far stronger than what they introduced yesterday. Far stronger in terms of ripping out Obamacare by its roots. This really doesn't do that. I mean, it just doesn't do that. So, and again, this is where, I would believe President Trump on his promises that we're going to follow through, do this and that, because he seems to be following through. This is a perfect example of why people were so suspect of Republicans from the get-go.
Right.
I mean, here they've been given both majorities in Congress. They got a president who's ready to go and has been ready to go. They could have passed this thing before he even took the oath of office so that he could have signed it on day one, and they haven't. I mean, it shows you that as much as the country was ready to change and send a message to Washington, we want change, these folks are still a little bit business as usual. And I think people need to be very clear with their representatives. What you promised us, full repeal, is what we want, and nothing else is going to do the day.
All right. Yeah.
There's no reason they can't do it.
That was my next question, and thank you for answering it already, which is how do my people and our people respond to this in their contact with their lawmakers? And absolutely. So, well, thanks for that. I appreciate that. And, of course, dailysignal.com is where you can have it all broken down for you. I mean, this is something that I think people can affect. We did it with immigration back in 2008 or whatever it was, or 2008 when President Bush, and people have, you have a voice. And your Congress people will listen, hopefully, but you got to make sure you make the contact. Genevieve Wood, thank you so much. I appreciate you being with us, and have fun covering the people who aren't working today.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. At Genevieve Wood, dailysignal.com.